Hello and welcome to EY India Insights. In this episode, we explore how organizations can navigate today's evolving risk landscape from regulatory and geopolitical uncertainty to cyber and technology risks. Joining us is Shrikant Paturi, partner of risk consulting at EY India, who shares his insights on strengthening risk management, building resilience, and elevating risk as a strategic priority. So, Shrikant, to begin with, the FICCI EY risk survey describes today's environment as a high profit yet high disruption. So, how should Indian businesses interpret this paradox, and what does it mean for the board level decision making?
Hey, thank you, Pallavi. Thank you for having me. And yeah, I think it is an interesting question because the paradox of high growth and high disruption is actually defining the reality of Indian businesses today. On one hand, India is among the fastest growing major economies, supported by domestic consumption and capital investment. But on the other hand, the risk environment has become more complex, interconnected, and super volatile. So the survey also makes it clear that growth and disruption are no longer sequential. They're actually happening at the same time. Strategic, operational, financial, and technology risks are blurring into one another. That means boards can no longer treat risks as episodic compliance exercise or something delegated only to assurance functions. For boards, this translates into three shifts. First, risk must be embedded into strategy, not reviewed after the fact. Growth bets, whether digital, geographic, or M&A, must be stress tested against geopolitical shocks, supply chain fragilities, and cyber exposure. The second shift is the decision cycles. These decision cycles are compressing as we speak. The report highlights how external shocks and internal vulnerabilities now interact at speed. Boards need faster access to forward looking risk intelligence, not just historical dashboards. The third shift is there is a growing expectation for active board oversight on resilience. How quickly the organization can anticipate, absorb, and adapt to disruption. In today's environment, resilience itself becomes a source of competitive advantage. So these are some of the perspectives that I've gathered from the risk survey report that we've recently concluded.
Thank you, Shrikant. Now, with the geopolitical tensions and economic volatility and supply chain disruptions emerging as a major concern, how can organizations move from the reactive risk management to proactive resilience?
And that's a great question. The survey also strongly signals that many organizations are still very reactive in responding to crises rather than anticipating them. Moving to proactive resilience requires a mindset shift and not just a capability shift. The first step is continuous risk sensing. So you see that organizations have annual risk assessments and periodic risk reviews, but I think the organizations need real-time visibility across geopolitics, regulatory changes, and other cyber and digital risks. India's deep integration into global supply chains makes this especially critical. Second is scenario-driven planning. The survey report also emphasizes that uncertainty is no longer an exception. It's the baseline. Leading organizations are running multiple plausible scenarios around tariffs, energy costs, logistics disruptions, and currency volatility, and linking these scenarios directly to operational and financial decisions. And the third one is resilience must be built across ecosystems, not just within the enterprise. So strengthening supply diversification, improving third-party governance, and collaborating across industries and with policymakers are the recurring themes from the survey. Finally, resilience needs ownership at the top. When boards and CEOs treat, treat resilience as a strategic capability rather than crisis response, it fundamentally changes how quickly organizations can adapt.
Thank you, Shrikant. Now, the survey also highlights the cybersecurity threats, so data risks and both slow and unmanaged AI adoption. So, how should organizations balance rapid digital transformation with strong risk governance and trust?
Yeah, I think this is one of the most striking findings of the survey, Pallavi. Cybersecurity breaches are ranked as the single biggest risk to organizational performance by the CEOs, CFOs, CROs who have taken the survey. So many of them have actually rated cyber risk ahead of geopolitics and economic volatility. At the same time, organizations are caught in dual challenge with AI, fear of falling behind and fear of getting it wrong. So these are all in the mix. So, and they're all interrelated as well. So the balance lies in governed acceleration, not slowing down digital transformation. First uh, thing that the companies can do is cyber security and data protection must be treated as core business enablers and not just IT topics. The survey shows that technology risk is now directly linked to operational continuity and reputation. That means boards must ask sharper questions about cyber resilience, incident response readiness, and data governance, which also means the boards and the CXOs need to also um, upskill themselves on these topics around what are the cyber threat landscape, emerging risks out of the data and AI technologies. So these are some topics that the boards and the CXOs should be familiar with. The second shift that the boards can think of is with AI, the risk is twofold. Many leaders acknowledge that inadequate adoption of AI can hurt competitiveness, while at the same time admitting that AI ethics, governance, and controls are not yet mature. The answer is not to pause AI, but to embed guardrails early. Clear accountabilities need to be set in place, ethical frameworks need to be developed, and explainability and strong data foundations need to be laid. The third mindset shift, Pallavi, is that the trust becomes the currency of digital growth. Customers, regulators, and employees are increasingly expecting organizations to demonstrate responsible use of technology. Those who get this right will scale faster and more sustainably than those who chase speed alone. So these are some of the mindset shifts that boards can think of in managing cyber and AI risks.
Thank you, Shrikant. Now, talent shortages, skill gaps, and ESG expectations are increasingly interconnected risks. So, how can the leaders build a risk aware culture that aligns with the workforce strategy, ethics, and the long term sustainability?
Yeah, I think one of the most important insights from the survey is that people, purpose, and performance risks are actually converging. A majority of leaders who have taken the survey highlight talent shortages and critical skill gaps as a threat to performance. Uh, so, from climate impact to ethical conduct, the ESG expectations are increasingly influencing investor and regulatory scrutiny. Building a risk aware culture starts with capability building, not just compliance. Organizations need to invest in future skills, which are around digital, cyber, data, and risk, while also strengthening leadership pipelines and succession planning. Second, ESG cannot be operated in a silo. The survey shows growing concern around ESG oversight and disclosure readiness. When workforce strategy, ethics, sustainability are aligned, ESG stops being a reporting burden and becomes part of how decisions are made. Third, culture is shaped by what leaders reward. When leaders openly discuss risk, ethical trade offs, and long term value, not just short term performance, it creates psychological safety for teams to flag issues early. Ultimately, organizations that integrate talent strategy, ethical governance, and sustainability are far better positioned to manage both current disruptions and long horizon risks. So, these are some of the long term focused actions that boards and the CXOs can take from an ESG workforce strategy and upskilling point of view.
Thank you, Shrikant. Now, lastly, before we let you go, if you had to identify one risk capability that Indian organizations must strengthen most urgently to stay competitive through 2026 and beyond, what would it be and why?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's very difficult to pick one, but if I had to pick one, Pallavi, I will pick the integrated forward looking risk intelligence as one of the capabilities that need to be built. The survey makes it clear that risks no longer occur in isolation. Cyber threats, AI governance, geopolitics, climate exposure, regulatory change, and talent challenges are all interacting in the same time, at the same place also. Organizations that still manage these risks in silos will always be one step behind. What's urgently needed is the ability to connect data across functions, anticipate how risks cascade, and translate insights into faster decisions at the board and executive level. This capability underpins everything else: resilience, trust, digital transformation, and sustainable growth. In a high growth, high disruption environment, the winners will not be those who avoid risk, but those who understand it best and respond the fastest.
Thank you, Shrikant. Now, that brings us to the end of this episode. Thank you so much for sparing your time and sharing your perspectives on managing the risk in this rapidly changing environment. Thank you.
Thank you, Pallavi. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. And to all our listeners, thanks for tuning in to the EY India Insights. We hope you found this conversation useful. Stay tuned for more insights in our upcoming episodes. Until next time, this is Pallavi signing off.